My phone.
We have somebody just coming in, so. Hello. I think you just made us a quorum.
Another one.
What's that?
I said there's another one. I heard the door.
Oh, yes, somebody was right behind. That wasn't the last person.
You're like, yes.
You should have seen the shoulder check in the parking lot.
I'm not fancy.
You walked really fast.
I
need to catch you.
She's trying not to be last.
You want me boss here or there?
Wherever you like.
You're gonna be talking to the screen today.
Okay,
Commissioner Stern, what?
I've got 5:30.
Me?
Are we unmuted to our crowd in the world of cyberspace?
Oh, gee.
We are, okay.
I'm the worst seat.
All right, having 5:30 here in our room, I will call this meeting and public forum hosted by the Johnston Drive Property Use Committee to order. It is 5:31 p.m. I'd like to welcome all of our attendees participating remotely this evening and thank the members of the committee who are here in the room today. I think for the benefit of those participating remotely, I think a round of introductions by the members of this committee would be in order. My name is Nate Miller. I'm the chair of the committee.
My name is Nancy Smith.
I'm Alice Kennedy.
Kevin Marker. Ed Morris.
And Julie Eckert.
And online, did I see that Bud is participating remotely online this evening?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Bud Lynch is a member of this committee as well, participating remotely this evening. So for those of you in attendance remotely, I just by way of kind of background, the purpose of the Johnston Drive Property Use Committee is to develop a recommendation to the Select Board about whether the town should retain the town-owned property on Johnston Drive, and if so, what the future use of the property should be. This committee has been meeting regularly since December. We have met with a number of stakeholders here in the town of Enfield, including town planning and zoning staff, members of the Master Plan Task Force, members of the Mascoma Lake Association, members of the Conservation Commission, members of the Recreation Commission, as well as abutters to the property. So we've been hosting a series of meetings over the past couple of months, learning a lot of information from all of those groups. And today is the first of two public forums to hear from members of the general public about your ideas as to what should be the future of the Johnston Drive property. So tonight is the first of the two public forums. This is a virtual forum hosted by Microsoft Teams. 2 weeks from tonight, on Thursday, May 11th at 5:30, we will be hosting an in-person public forum at the Enfield Community Building. So all of you in attendance remotely today are also welcome to participate in that meeting as well 2 weeks from tonight. To maximize the time that we've allotted to hear all of your comments this evening, we don't plan on doing an introductory PowerPoint presentation about the property. However, if there is anyone attending this evening remotely who is unfamiliar with the town-owned property on Johnston Drive and would like to be oriented to its location, please speak now. Is anybody online unfamiliar with the property or need a brief orientation as to the property?
That would be me.
Okay. Can I ask you, Ed, to provide a brief background?
Sure, if you want to share your screen, Kevin, on the Google. Share screen. Windows. And then the map right there. So you should be seeing the screen now. We're zoomed in a little bit, so you can't see it very well, but on Johnston Drive, which really crosses right where the Lebanon town border is, comes down. Johnston Drive is a private drive that's, you know, shared by the residents of the properties around it. The properties we're really talking about here in this committee is properties 4 and 5. Property 3 on the other side still has a home on it. We really would have use up until where you see the water kind of cut in on 3, but we're mostly talking about 4 and 5 at this point as the area that's kind of the open space at this point that we'd be talking about. Little bit of history about this. These 3 parcels were part of the railroad property. And then when the railroad went away, state law states that the land for the railroad would go back to the state. So the state ended up inheriting these parcels down here and the rail trail. And then it was, I believe, 90s, early 2000s that the state made a deal with the town to take over these properties, that the town would get the land and properties, but we had to honor the long-term leases that went with the cabins that are on them. The reason 3 is not in this right now is the family's still alive and using the long-term lease that goes along with that property. But 4 had been abandoned a while back, and then this last April, the A-frame that you see prominently in the middle on number 5 was deeded over to the town. So now the town has sole ownership of everything on lots 4 and 5, and actually 6 too, but it's kind of off to the side, a little parcel. So this is the area there that had come available really last April, and we started having some planning through the summer, and then I made a presentation to the select board in September, and that's when we decided to move forward, and the select board put this committee together to kind of study and look into what we would like these properties to be, or what we would like to do with these parcels moving forward.
Thank you very much, Ed, for that background information. Joellen, I hope that was helpful to orient you to the location of the property and a little bit of the background information. Obviously, the majority of tonight is dedicated to hearing what all of you have to say. Before we open the floor to hear all of your comments, I would like to just review some ground rules for the evening so we can make sure everybody's on the same page. Anyone speaking tonight is free to share any thoughts you may have about the Johnston Drive property. However, that said, there are 2 questions that this committee has asked all of the stakeholders we've talked to so far, and we are particularly interested in hearing any thoughts you may have about these 2 questions. The first question is a broad one. What is your vision for the town-owned property on Johnston Drive? And the second question is, what concerns do you have about the town-owned property on Johnston Drive? So any thoughts that you might be willing to share about your vision for the property or concerns that you have about the property would certainly be welcomed by us. To ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak, we're going to limit the first round of comments to 3 minutes per person. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak, and we have a number of folks participating remotely this evening, so please keep your comments to 3 minutes if possible. When you have 30 seconds remaining, I'll hold a yellow piece of paper up. And when you have 10 seconds remaining, I'll hold a red piece of paper up to give you a sense of where you are timing wise. Everyone who wishes to speak will have the opportunity to speak before anyone speaks a second time. So everyone will get a chance to speak before anyone is allowed to speak for a second time. Because tonight's meeting is specifically encouraging virtual participation, those participating on Microsoft Teams will have speaking priority. Everyone participating on Microsoft Teams will be provided an opportunity to speak before anybody participating in the room will be provided an opportunity to speak. Everyone will have the opportunity to speak at least once tonight. When everyone who wishes to speak has spoken at least once, we will then limit the meeting to 2 hours, or 7:30 p.m. for anybody who is wishing to speak multiple times. For virtual participants, we do ask that you use the raise your hand feature on Microsoft Teams. You will be called upon based on the order that you appear on our screen with your hand raised. When you are finished speaking, please lower your hand using Microsoft Teams, and that will help us to manage our queue of people who wish to speak. Lastly, we would ask that everyone be respectful of each other's viewpoints. It is okay for people to see things differently, and everyone here tonight has important insights that this committee needs to hear. So we do ask that nobody speak over anybody else or disparage anyone personally or anybody's particular point of view. With that, I think we will open the floor. I see one hand raised so far, so we will acknowledge Dr. David Beaufay. You have the floor, sir, for 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can.
I have attended the previous meetings of the committee, and I think we've heard from a very few individuals and groups that supported selling the property, and one who wanted a restaurant there. But the overwhelming majority of committees, groups, individuals have been supportive of keeping the property and keeping it simple, smart, as in not developing it, not putting extensive improvements into the road. And so I'd like to suggest that there may be some compromise that can be attained by the town. There is no urgency to sell or develop the Johnston Lane property now. It can be done in the future if necessary. With the goal of preserving the property as a park on the last public waterfront access and infill at minimal or no expense to taxpayers, and to avoid legal wrangling and costs all around, I strongly suggest that the Johnston Property Committee and the town of Enfield delegate maintenance of the property to a volunteer Friends of Mascoma Lake Parks group, possibly under the auspices of the nonprofit Mascoma Lake Association or another nonprofit, for a 3-year trial period with possible extension and renewal by mutual agreement. Labor would be provided by volunteers. Cost for porta potty could be shared, and a donated, borrowed, purchased riding mower would be used by the volunteers. Structural demolition would not be part of the maintenance agreement. Are there any questions regarding that?
No, very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Beaufay. Jean Patton, you have the
Hi.
floor.
Yep. So first I want to say I at first was thinking that we should hang on to the property, but my vision, I feel like, is to sell the property. And my many concerns are, I know that there's more people than not that would like people to be able to drive down there. And I just feel like if we hang on to this property, it's going to create more and more expenses for the town using DPW workers. It's sort of a hidden place for the PD to have to keep watch on. The traffic on Route 4 is absolutely crazy. I feel like we have one piece of property. We already have the Lakeside Park that keeps being added to and developed more. So, and I just feel like as my post on the listserv, the Enfield needs to not continue being in the land business. We keep taking more land on, and I feel like we need more revenue. We don't need more expenses.
Thank you, Jean.
I'll have to raise my hand again.
Put your arm down.
We'll recognize Kurt. Is that Kurt Gotthard? Kurt.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, that sounds like Kurt Gotthard, but just for the record, you are Kurt Gotthard, correct?
Yes, Kurt Gotthard's.
All right, thank you, Kurt.
My preferred option is the town to continue to own the property. I believe the public access should be a walk-in and boat-in only, though. Allowing the general public to use Johnston Drive, which is a private drive, will only add to an unnecessary cost to the town due to the maintenance of the road that would be necessary due to the increased vehicle traffic. Also, because this is a private road that the town will now be spending money to help maintain, at some point in the future, the town may be forced to accept this road as a public road, and then it will have to bear the full cost of maintaining it. Regarding my preferred use of the property, I believe a few picnic tables at most, no porta potties, no trash barrels, no signs restricting swimming. Maintain the cut grass and keep the shrub brush area from expanding. Basically, keep it as natural as possible condition that still allows the public to enjoy this very special area in Enfield. This parcel of land is most likely the last piece of land the town will ever get to own on Mascoma Lake, and it has everything the town could possibly hope for. Easy access for most people, easy means to get in and out of the lake, already has an open cleared area for picnicking, which to create today is very expensive and difficult due to DES requirements. And there is minimal amount of maintenance required if it is used as it's currently being used. Other towns can only dream of an opportunity like this for its citizens. My option 2, which is not my preferred option, but it is something I could accept and live with if the town chooses, would be to lease the A-frame building or the location, the footprints, to a commercial enterprise that would cater to rail trail and water users. The westerly open fields, which is the Lebanon side or the Lebanon direction, could be used for picnicking and swimming only, and the easterly side, which is the Enfield direction side of the A-frame, could be used for boat-only access, the boat users, and it would separate the two areas from that way as a natural break with the shrub line that currently is there. The town could also sell the most eastern section, which I believe was number 6 on the plat that was shown. Okay, to the highest bidder, who would then have their private access to Mascoma Lake. This section is currently naturally sectioned off by a shrub growth and is currently being used by an abutter as their private picnic area. As Dr. Dufay mentioned, the town always has the option of selling it at some point in the future if it's not being used to its fullest potential for town residents. So that is always an option that's there. It doesn't have to be done this year or next year.
Thank you, Kurt. Terry Lynch, you have the floor.
Hear me?
We can hear you very faintly.
Is that better?
She's got to unmute her.
You're muted.
It looks like you're muted on our end, but we
How's
can hear
that?
you faintly. Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Okay.
So now Bud mute. I'll mute Bud so it doesn't echo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I need to turn his volume down. Oh, no, it's still on. He just turned his volume down.
Bud needs to turn his volume down.
Okay, that seems to have worked.
Except we can't hear her. Bud should mute. There he.
Well, he's muted.
He's muted. Terry, are you still there? Can you, oh,
Yeah, you're muted.
we've lost you.
Uh-uh.
Try- Can you hear me now? Can you hear this?
They'd have to unmute
Yes.
you.
This is much better. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer is a little bit challenged.
Not
So,
a problem.
this piece of property to me is extremely valuable and precious as the last available open property on the lake. But I don't see any urgency at all in us developing it at present. Why can't we just hang on to it, maybe decrease our liability by removing any buildings that are there that are, questionable, and just see how it goes. People can access it by boat, by bicycle, by foot, and it is such a gorgeous piece of property. I really would hate us to go short-sighted, sell it, and then lose it. Maybe down the road something will have to be done, but my vision for it is just to keep it as a lovely piece of property that it is. My concerns would be that we would sell it, lose it. The short-term financial gain is just not, I don't think it's worth it. We've done that before. We've lost a beautiful beach by being kind of looking at just the bottom line for the year. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Tom Lockett, you have the floor.
Hello. So I am in favor personally of leaving this as land as its current use, not developing it in any way and kicking the can down the road, so to speak, until a future time after seeing how it goes and where we are as a town with current projects. We already have our hands full between the emergency facility, the library, town hall, and water and sewer projects. I just think this is just another thing on top of the pile, and when you get too many, you can suffer in one project or the other because your concentration is so divided and your money is so divided. So right now, I'm in favor of keeping ownership, but keeping its current use, and we can revisit it at a later time. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Tom. I see no other hands raised at the moment. I find that hard to believe.
All right. That's
Julie. Jean, we will come back to you. Actually, okay, we will go to Jean because I think it may be Steve that wishes to speak now. So Jean.
Yes, you're.
So, can everyone hear me okay?
Okay.
My
We can.
personal opinion is this should be sold because I understand there are other rights of way designated to the water from other parties besides just the landowners either side of the road. I would like to see this put up for sale to get it back on the tax rolls to help offset some of the money the town has spent. I personally feel like there's going to be too much haggling with the right-of-way people on the way in to ever do very much with this, and I would like to let the future owner be involved in this and not the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patton.
Julie, but she just put her hand down.
Okay, we had Julie. Julie has put her hand down. Kurt has already spoken. Kurt, is there somebody with you that hasn't spoken yet that wishes to speak?
No, I was just gonna make a second comment, but you can go to someone else and I can wait.
Yeah, let's let everyone who hasn't spoken yet speak first, and then we'll go to second comments.
Yep, no problem. I'll mute.
It was Julie, but
Did Julie still want to speak? Is she here?
Is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet that wishes to speak? Okay, we will recognize Donna Pigeon. Donna, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you. I would just like to echo what some others have said, that I think that it would best to be kept for use as is, so accessible by foot, by boat, by bicycle from the rail trail. Again, it's just a beautiful piece of property. It's a quiet, peaceful piece of property. So without, having any major development around it, perhaps, a picnic table or two added. I think any additional attempts at, the road, looking at Route 4 access is, has to be problematic. That's a really tough in and out access from the road as it is. So, so that would be my vision for it. And I again, as others said, we don't need to rush into anything. I think maybe keeping it as is, and Dr. Beaufait's comment, maybe having some volunteers to help keep the property, I think is nice as well, but without developing it further.
Thank you, Donna. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet that wishes to speak? If so, please raise your hand with Microsoft Teams. Seeing none, we will go to folks who wish to speak a second time, and we will recognize Kurt Gotthard.
Okay, thank you. I understand, several people, which is understandable, prefer to sell the property to get the money, either the sale money plus tax roll money. I would rather see the town concentrate on selling the other properties it currently owns that could be sold, that are surplus properties, specifically the Shed Street property, which is, I understand the town was waiting. The town was waiting to see if it would sell based on the public works, the public safety building. And now that is not going to be used for, that property is not going to be used for that. They should concentrate on selling that parcel. There is also, I'm aware of a parcel on Lock Haven Road that someone made an offer to buy several years ago, and the town chose not to accept it. I'm sure, I haven't looked through the town report, but it does list other properties that the town has acquired over the years that could be sold as house lots or to an abutter. But as best of my knowledge, there's been no focus on marketing those properties. So I'd rather see those properties that really have no general use for the residents of Enfield versus this property, which has a lot of potential for Enfield residents to use and enjoy. So that's basically my thoughts on selling the property on that aspect. So.
Thank you, Kurt.
Julie is back. Doesn't have her hand up.
So Julie, you have not spoken yet. I see you're back in the meeting with your hand up. We will recognize you and give you the floor. Could you state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, Julie Herman.
Oh, thank you.
Certainly. Just a brief comment, same as I have noted previously. I agree with Dr. Beaufait and those that are in favor of not selling the property. And just making it access as it is now. I don't think a big financial investment into the land itself is needed. And that's, you know, just foot access, clearly not any cars. That's my input at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. We will recognize Jean Patton.
Thanks, Nate. So I have a couple of questions or comments that are really outside of the two focused questions, and I'm not expecting a total answer. I'm sort of throwing this out as food for thought or whatever. But so I know the town has owned this land for quite some time, but moving forward, if this land is going to have if we end up keeping the land, leaving it as is, and people sort of use it from either Enfield, Lebanon, or wherever, I'm just curious about how does the town's liability come into play should someone get hurt, if there's not a quote lifeguard, or say if a child ends up drowning or someone. So I'm just throwing that out there because we all know that's happened on a piece of property up the rail trail that wasn't a per se town property, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud that, you know, it doesn't seem like you can really restrict use to just Enfield people being in that area. It's pretty wide open, but my concern is for the liability issue for people getting hurt or something happening. And we all know that liability costs are just crazy. So that's just my question/comment.
Thank you, Jean. I'd like to recognize the town manager to offer his thoughts on that question.
Yeah, as you know, there's always a liability possibility on any town-owned property, but as for someone drowning, something like that, open public use, as long as we're not charging for it, would not be the town's issue. I did go through this when we were working on Claremont building downhill mountain bike trails, and we talked to the insurance companies, and as long as it's open and we're not charging, there's no excess liability more than there is at the town hall or anywhere else.
So the idea of charging for something is when things get triggered along those lines?
It starts getting a lot muddier, and we'd have to definitely look
Okay.
at the insurance company. Cool.
Thanks, Ed.
You are welcome.
We will recognize Dr. Beaufay.
I think you can hear me now.
We can.
Good. A couple of follow-ups to my previous comments. I have approached the board of the Mascoma Lake Association. They have not made any decision as yet, but if they decide not to, I'm also involved with the Friends of the Friends of the Northern Rail Trail, which is also an abutter to this and has elected to leave this as a local issue, but is very our users, as well as users that are from bikes that are not members, will certainly use this property and already have a lot. Would be other sources for support and possibly some funding for porta potties as they do for the Mascoma Lakeside Park, so there's some interest from other groups in terms of supporting this proposal that I made. My personal support would be for, in terms of minimal additional maybe picnic tables or something like that, but also a recognition that Barbara Jones has mowed this property for almost 10 years prior to the town taking over that maintenance last year. I would certainly hope that Barbara or another one of the abutters would be an active member of any friends group to support for maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Buffet.
Jones, yeah.
She does not have her hand raised, so. Well, there you go. We recognize Barbara Jones. Barbara, you have the floor.
Thank you. I accept your volunteering me. I would love to continue doing exactly what we've been doing. Thank you, David. That's all I have to say on the matter. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Barbara. Gene Patton.
So I have a comment about putting porta potties on this property. The porta potties will have to be maintained. Therefore, the road to this property will have to be, I don't know if it needs to be upgraded, but it definitely that whoever has the porta potties down there will have to keep the road up so the porta potty truck can get there. And then I'm thinking that there's more liability to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Barbara Jones.
Steve, I don't see any reason for porta potties or any kind of trash barrels or anything that need to be maintained. If somebody's desperate, they can knock on my door. I'm muting myself.
I don't see any other hands up at the moment. Does anybody else wish to? Oh, Tom Lockett. Tom Lockett, you have the floor.
I don't know if it's been discussed or thought of in any way, but is there a chance, if this comes to something by town vote or meeting, is there a chance to write up a proposal for the town to lease the property to a group that is in favor of turning this into a more beach type area where they would be responsible for maintenance, liability, everything, and it would be part of that what they envisioned for it, with regulations put in place of what they could do and what they couldn't do. But they would have to submit a plan, approved lease. That way the town is bringing in some income off the property, but it can be used how people that feel it should be used in a different way, such as another beach or waterfront property can kind of mold to their vision a little more within some set of regulations for whatever time they so choose to lease it for. And I don't know if that's been thought about or discussed at all, but I'm just putting that out there.
Tom, I'm just curious, is there an example that you're thinking of where that type of scenario has taken place that you're thinking of when you make that recommendation? Is there some example that you have in your mind that you're aware of that sort of arrangement has happened?
No. And
okay.
It's just brainstorming, throwing something out there. Has it been thought of, and would it even be a possibility? I don't know the details, and I haven't researched them at all to know much about it. It's just throwing an idea out there as a brainstorm while on this meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening? Are there any comments or questions or follow-ups from members of the committee to any of the people that we've heard from tonight, or any of these thoughts? Any follow-up questions? Or yes?
I don't have a question, but I do appreciate everybody's very thoughtful presentations and questions and ideas. They're very nicely put and easy to understand for us. And I think it covered a lot of different ideas. I really appreciate your consideration of it.
Yeah, I certainly would echo that. I do see some hands have come up, and I would like to recognize Dr. Beauvais.
Okay, I think, can you hear me now?
We can.
I was just open to any questions that might arise from either the committee or from the public attending about the ideas and where I've taken it so far.
We don't have any questions at this point.
Yeah.
Kurt.
Okay, I just have a general comment for the board itself. My understanding, the next meeting is going to be the in-person public forum at the community building. And so you have 18 people here online, which is pretty good. I'm so impressed. It would be nice if you did a little better job at advertising or posting the meeting time and place. This meeting seemed to be a little scattered. The first posting I saw was probably maybe at least 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't even my understanding from the board itself. And then the town websites, I didn't see anything there until today about joining this meeting. I mean, it had had the board meeting posted like every other meeting the town has, but nothing specific about this type of meeting and online version and whatnot. So just a little better on the follow-up on letting the public know that when your meeting is going to happen, and that it would be the final meeting for this committee for the public. That's all.
That is really helpful, Kurt. And I wonder if you could just describe what better would look like.
Well, maybe 5 to 7 days prior to the meeting, something's posted on the listserv, and then maybe a follow-up like the day before the meeting. And then on the website, the town website itself, have in the upcoming there's that little section on the homepage where future events happening or postings. I don't have it open, so I don't know what the exact wording, but there's a little thing there, and have it posted there. So it's up front and center versus buried in the minutes, in the agenda. And then all you get is meeting on this date.
So I will say one thing about the town website, that thing on the front page where there's a little calendar, the only ones that show on the bottom of the calendar are the ones that are happening that day.
Yeah.
So you have to go into the calendar to see what the upcoming events
I
are.
know the calendars, the website's clunky, to put it lightly.
We do have a website upgrade coming, but it was posted on the website at least a week ago, and we put it on the listserv and Facebook multiple times over the last month.
I've seen it a lot.
It's also on the digital sign in front of the community building.
I saw it on the digital sign in front of the community
Okay.
building.
It was also posted in both post offices. It was put on the cork board at Proctor's, George's, and Jake's. Jake's just took it down today because it's happening today, but they had other ones that went up. So it was posted.
Okay. I haven't visited those areas, so I didn't see those signs that were there. But But on the website, there is that section, I think when you look at the homepage on the right-hand side, as upcoming events, I believe, or something to that effect. I think that's the first thing people would see when they open up the page.
Yeah, and that'll populate as things get close. It auto populates.
Okay.
There is, and I don't know if we pushed the button to do this, so I can't say, but we do have a place, and the new website will be really important to register and sign up and check the pages that you're interested in. And when new committees come up, you may need to go on and click those, and then you'll get email alerts, and the new website will have text alerts when things are posted or changed. So if you're interested in anything right now, you can sign up for email alerts, and when the new website's done closer to the end of the year, you'll be able to get text alerts when there's anything posted. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt. That feedback is helpful.
Yep.
Dr. Beaufay, your hand is still up. Is there anything else you'd like to say, sir?
Yeah, I would like to add to Kurt's that the May newsletter is about ready to come out, and that would be another source for information to be distributed. Thank you.
Was it in the last one? No.
Is this something that you could include potentially in the May newsletter?
Yeah, I haven't written my article yet.
Good opportunity to plug May 11th then. Yeah.
No, you have something.
You have some content now.
Oh, I have content. I just need to write it.
Are there any other comments or from anybody who's participating remotely this evening? I don't see any hands raised. Joelle and Courtney, you have the floor.
I'm considering I haven't really ever seen the site, and I drove by on Route 4 yesterday, and it was the first time I noticed the actual sign saying Johnston Drive, because I was never clear where it was. So I don't feel like I can say very much. However, I don't like the idea of porta potties, and that's about all I want to say.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments this evening? Don't see any hands raised. Any final thoughts from members of the committee this evening?
I would like to thank Barbara Jones for her neighborly offer that if I ever find myself down that way in desperate need of the bathroom, I will knock on your door. Thank you.
All right, just as a reminder to everyone online, we will be 2 weeks from tonight meeting in person for the second public forum. That will be at 5:30 p.m. at the community building. I would also note that anybody who is interested in providing comments that can't participate in that meeting is welcome to submit written comments by email to the town manager, and he will ensure that those are forwarded to the committee.
They can bring them to the town hall.
Yes, you're welcome to drop them off at the town hall as well in person if that is easier for you, but with written comments are certainly welcome. Thanks to all of you for your time this evening and for your participation virtually, and for the thoughts and thoughtfulness that went into each of your comments. It's much appreciated by this committee. This committee does not have any predetermined conclusions about what should happen with the property. We've been doing a lot of fact finding and talking to people, and all of the comments that we received tonight, as well as the comments that we've received at previous meetings, are invaluable to us to help us sort through and make our recommendation ultimately to the select board. So thank you again. And with that, I will welcome a motion to adjourn.
Do you want to talk at all about whether we accept public comment during deliberation when we start trying to make up our mind, or?
We can. So we will have obviously another public meeting on May 11th following that, we will have our second May meeting and then 2 meetings in June. So likely 3 full meetings. Targeting our 6-month timeline that was we started in December. We are targeting making our recommendation by the end of June to the select board. That gives us 3 work sessions following the May 11th public meeting to arrive at our recommendation. And so the question would be, should those simply be work sessions for this committee, or does the committee wish to invite any final public comments at any of those final 3 meetings?
Can we decide at the second May meeting?
We can.
It's like, I don't know if I have other questions yet.
Yeah, we don't have to make a decision on it tonight. It's something to think about, though.
Yeah, and one of the things that I brought up to Nate was, you know, when you're starting to make those decisions, do you want to allow public input? Because as you guys start to make those decisions, it's going to start to narrow down to something, and, you know, allowing public comment, I guess, could allow that opposing view to start trying to steer the committee. And so just something to think about as you go, or do you want to continue openly taking comments as you move through that? So.
Well, at some point, we need to call them more.
We will need to have work sessions following May 11th. Now, there could be an option of having public comments at the beginning of the meeting if there are any burning items that folks would like to make sure the committee is aware of, but during the actual work of sorting out all of the information and beginning to develop a recommendation and ultimately finalize that recommendation, it you know, might be the best use of our time to have those be presented as work sessions for the committee. So we have options there. We don't need to make any final decision tonight, but it is something that we should think about as we head towards those final 3 meetings of the committee. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a good
I just think
question.
it's important, if you do decide to say, no, we're not going to take public comment, they're going to be work sessions, that the public knows that, and they know that upcoming meeting is kind of their last chance to give their input. And
so I would ask that everybody here, and Bud, you as well online, think about that question so that we can come to a resolution on that question.
I have a question.
Okay. Dr. Beaufay, yes.
This is just a point of order. Before completely restricting public comment to any public meeting, I think you need to look at that very carefully from an open meetings law perspective. You can limit it as you have in previous meetings, but I think that you would be at some discernible risk should you eliminate it completely.
I'd like to recognize the town manager to speak to that question.
yeah, no, there is no risk or law that states you have to allow the public to talk. You have to allow the public to attend.
It's certainly a public, it would be a PR disaster.
You have one person joining with you. Adam, if they have a comment.
Oh, Francine.
She want to say something?
Francine Loza, we have admitted you to the meeting, and there are no other comments from any members of the public participating remotely. So we want to give you the opportunity to share any thoughts about the property with the committee, if you have such thoughts that you wish to share.
Let's see.
No. I don't think so.
I don't think she has any thoughts on that she wishes to share at this time. So, yes, let's all consider that question and come to a resolution about that question on May 11th, so that we can ensure that our ducks are in a row as we head into the final 3 meetings. With that, is there any other business to come before the committee this evening? Hearing none, I will welcome a motion to adjourn.
I so move, and I second.
Non-debatable motion, so all in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, stick around.
But do we have to do a call?
Oh, we do, we have to,
Do a roll call.
we have to do a roll call. Bud is remote tonight. Okay. Chair votes yes on the motion. Nancy,
Yes.
Alice.
Yeah.
Kevin,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Bud.
Yes.
That is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you again to everyone for coming this evening, and please feel free to join us on May 11th.